Hello, everyone. My name remains Aya Jackson, and I am so delighted. I'm really excited this morning to have with me here a very special person. I stumbled upon her on YouTube, and it's been great knowing her, and it's such a honor to have her here on this podcast. Chioma, good morning. It's nice to have you. Good morning. Welcome. So, I could go on to tell people a little about what I know about you, but if you don't mind, can you please tell us about yourself, introduce us to who you are? And yes, this is actually a parenting podcast for the World Changer Parenting Institute. I'm the founder, and I'm trying to, you know, gather parents' experience, and we all learn together on the journey. So if you can tell us how many children you have, what's your parenting background, or story. For some people, they had to wait for a while to have their children and things like that. So the floor is open. It's open for you. We'd like to meet you.
No worries. Thank you so much, Ayo, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. I know that this has been a few weeks, several weeks actually, in the making. My name is Chioma. For those of you who are listening, I live in Sydney, Australia. I'm a social worker by profession, and I am a mom of two girls. So my children are at the moment 10 and 11 years old. So obviously, I became a mom about 11 years ago, and that was a year into being married. That was when I had my first one. Sorry, actually, my kids are 11 and 12. I always mix up their ages because they are so close in age. They're so close in age. And so I always have to remember that when one person's number changes, the other person also changes shortly after. So they're actually 11 and 12 years old. There wasn't any delay, as you might already be able to tell, in having them soon after I got married. So, yeah, I don't know if that's what you mean by my parenting journey. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, I can relate with, um, you know, dates and all of that. Personally, all my siblings are the ones who tell me, "Oh, you forgot my birthday." I'm like, "No, sorry." So for my children, I try not to forget theirs, but
Yeah.
some of us are not very keen on numbers like that. Thank you for sharing that. I remember, scrolling through your Instagram page, and I saw, I think was that in April when your daughter had
Yes.
gone,
You
and then
remember.
yes, and I see how well you bond with them. I see the activities that the vlog that you made, so beautiful. Congratulations on how you're really doing great on your parenting journey. Yeah, I see
Thank
the
you.
young girls, and listening to the voiceover on the vlog, the prayer you made, it was really heartwarming. So today I wanted us to talk about parenting in a multicultural environment like Australia, understanding that good enough both of us are from Nigeria, and although we're not from the same side of Nigeria, but um, our culture might be similar in a way,
Mhm.
in that we have probably same values of respect for elders and things like that. And coming into an environment like Australia, where you have to kind of, I personally am still struggling to still call people by their first name, especially those who are older than me. But it's the culture.
Yeah.
So did you prepare to meet the kind of difference in culture when it comes to your parenting?
Hmm.
I don't know how the culture background is for you back at home and what your values are personally, but coming to Australia, how did that affect how you are parenting today?
Yeah. That's an interesting question, and one that just thinking about it at a glance, there's so many different angles from which I could answer that question. However, what I'm going to say is that yes, I believe for most Nigerians, anything I would say about my upbringing from Nigerian parents, from would be very similar to what another Nigerian, even if they come from a different part of the country, would say about their own upbringing. So there are significant overlaps in the values that our parents from their own generation shared and which they passed down to us. So something you mentioned about like respect for elders and how that is expressed. I am not going to say that here in Australia, children do not respect their parents, but it looks very different to how it is expressed. Like you said, calling people by their first names, people who are much older than you, that's not something that you do back home. Okay, that's something that would earn you a slap in certain cases. So, yes. However, I think for me, by the time I became a parent, let me just be very honest, I didn't really prepare for parenting. And when I say I didn't prepare for it, it's not in the sense of that I didn't know how to change a diaper or I didn't know how to feed a baby. I knew all those things because I'm the first child of my parents, and you can imagine what that looks like. It meant that I was very involved in, participating in the raising of my younger ones. So I knew about the physical aspects of raising a child. I could feed them, I could bathe them, give them a bath, give them food to eat, and just make sure that their physical needs were met. But when it came down to all the other things that tie into raising a well adjusted person, the psychological, and that would encompass things like the emotional well being of a child, things to do with developmental psychology, for lack of a better word, I wasn't really prepared. Okay, so coming from a place like Nigeria and then raising the girls here, because I mean, the girls were only 2 and 3 years old. They were just babies when we left Nigeria. And now they are 11 and 12 years old, which means that they have received much of their upbringing here in Australia than in Nigeria. So it was a huge shift for me. First of all, knowing that myself as a parent, I was coming from a completely different background. It was like I was handed a different toolkit, okay, to what I actually needed to raise my daughters successfully in a different culture. And I am not an expert, not by any stretch of the imagination. I am not an expert at all. And let me be honest, when you first extended the invitation to talk about parenting, yes, you did mention that it was off of the vlog that I made. And I thought to myself, did I really capture the message that I wanted? Did I capture it perfectly? The message that I wanted to put out in that vlog? Did I kind of portray myself as this parent who knows everything about parenting and who has kind of become an expert? Because that is not what I am. Okay, that is not what I am. But then I thought about it and I was like, yes, I may not be there. And I don't think parenting is a destination in itself, it's a journey. But the little that I know might be helpful to someone else also trying, struggling to figure this whole thing out. So let's all figure it out together. Let's all kind of, let's have a collective purpose around our struggle in parenting. So whatever little I can share, that is what I am going to share here. So yes, I did struggle, and in some aspects, I am still struggling, raising those girls. But yeah, you take every day as it comes, and you keep learning.
I love that you say we take every day as it comes, and we keep learning, because for
Mm,
me, I think it's not personally going on the parenting journey. You're never fully prepared, you're never
yeah.
fully ready. It's just like a marriage that is, like my mother-in-law told me, you get your certificate before you start school, you
Mm,
know. But with parenting, the opportunity to, or marriage, relationships, the opportunity
yep.
to learn is always there. And that openness is key, is very important. If not, we'll be parenting our children the way we were raised. And that would be a big blunder. What's key to learning for you? What does learning on your parenting journey mean to you?
Okay. So learning for me starts with me. So, the kind of parenting that we received, and I don't think it was horrible parenting, okay? I feel like our parents just had a different way of trying to drive towards the same outcome. So both our parents, even though they came from a different generation of parenting, different style, different culture around parenting. And for us, what we want is still the same. We all want to raise successful kids, whatever success means to us. It's just that the techniques, I would say, are a bit different. And they are different because the times are different as well. So, first of all, for me, it was in recognizing the difference in the times. Okay, so that was the first thing, recognizing that the world in which our parents were raised is a very different world to where our kids are being raised. And then for us, the parents, it's like we're sitting across these two worlds. Okay, so we are like a conduit between these two worlds.
Yes.
I often tell my daughters that there is an aspect of the life that I lived as a child at their age that they will never get to know, unfortunately. Yeah, and I use the word unfortunately because sometimes I feel like it's something they've missed out on.
Mm,
Yeah, I do tell them this sometimes. Like, there are so many experiences I had at their age that they will probably never have. And so when I talk to them about it, I can see the confusion in their faces. Like, they can't even begin to understand what I am talking about. They can't even begin to understand. So if you as a parent do not understand that difference yourself, that will be the beginning of your struggle, because it will be like, I am trying to do everything as my parents did, but it is not landing well with my kids because you don't understand that the times are different. Okay. There are different, as it's just as with your mobile phone. Every once in a while you get an update, installed in your phone. And
yeah,
if you say, no, I don't want this new update, I am going to stick with the original software version of my phone, at some point, some functions in your phone will stop working properly.
true.
It's the same way as parenting. It's about, for me, learning is about moving with the times. Now, while I am moving with the times, I am learning new skills to help me adjust to the needs of the time that we're in. But at the same time, because I already have inherited a blueprint from our parents, I'm not going to abandon that totally. Every once in a while, I still have to go back and reference that original toolkit that I inherited from my parents, and then find a way to update whatever technique from that old book, update it to fit the time. So it's a constant journey. Parenting is a journey that you're taking with your kids. Okay, so yourself and your kids are traveling along that road together, and you must be traveling together. It cannot be the case where you want to remain stuck in your old ways, but you want to push them along to keep going. It will not work. And you also cannot, completely abandon where you've come from, because then you're going to struggle even more. It is good that you recognize the foundation you're coming from as a parent, but also recognize that the destination is a bit different and the journey is looking a little different. So obviously you have to be prepared for it in a different way. So yeah, that's what the learning journey has looked like for me.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I agree with you that when it comes to seeing parenting as a journey,
Mm.
you must be able to link it to the past
Yep.
and understand where you are presently on the journey so you can move ahead in this direction that you would like to go. So good. Thank you for sharing. For one, the Australian culture is so individualistic, and I can't just walk up to my neighbor and say, I came to check up on you.
I know what you
Because
mean.
one of the things that I can relate with you saying, oh, there are experiences that you have that your children may never have, is that communal children relationship where children are playing sway on the backyard of the
Mm,
compound, boys are on the field playing football, which is typical for boys there. But
mm,
the good thing is the Australian culture in its way is just different in terms of how these activities are done. We
mm,
have them as after school activities or even activities done in the school. It's part of the curriculum. But, that individualistic approach to life
mm,
has its own side effects. We have rising case of social isolation in Australia.
mm.
How do you manage? Do you have a sense of community? Have you been able to create a sense of community for your children? Do they have some connection of some? When it comes to multicultural connections, what stands out for you? Am I asking too much at the same time?
No, no.
Sorry. What we have here is, oh, come on a play date, come for a sleepover. I'm not very sure I want you to go for that sleepover. The things they are going to be presenting, they stand against the values I stand for. So we can't honor that invitation. You understand? So how are you able to like balance these
Yeah.
challenges? Yes.
Good. Again, I think you're asking very interesting and very insightful questions. This is one area of struggle. So it's an area that we're still struggling through. What we have done as parents is, first of all, like you said, it has to come down to just understanding our value position and then going from there. And it's also the same thing I said about how even if the destination or the outcome is the same, the path towards that destination is different. So, yes, there is an individualistic culture here. That's what it appears at face value. That's what it appears like at face value. But they also have a culture around how they build community and how they build friendships. You
Yes.
might not see it, when you first come in, you might not readily see it, but they have that. And then the way in which they build community here is a bit strange to us because, like you said, it's very formal. Why do I need to sign up for something when back home you go out on the street and tap a ball, and before you know it, your neighbor's kids are coming out and everybody's playing? It's very organic. But here it's like everything is so structured, everything goes through a formal route. You have to sign up with other kids who want to play football. There are rules and regulations and, do's and don'ts. You can't do this, you can do this. Yes. So, yes, it's different. But as a parent, you have to get to a position where you start getting comfortable with that difference and knowing that this is not so much about what you experienced, it's about your children. Like, you want them to be able to also curate a social circle for themselves. And so you want to, first of all, start with, as you said, your value position. So what you would find with most immigrants, especially the ones that are religious, is that they start in church. And we've also done the same. Our kids would attend church, attend the children's church, and then mix with other kids, because then, there's an assumption that when they meet kids there, at least there is some commonality in their experience of meeting at church. There's some value around the other kids being raised in a family where at least they believe in Christ, they go to church. And so there are certain things that come with being a believer, right? So you would expect that other kids would exhibit the same values. And so you want your kids to actually be there. So some people would start in places like church. Some people also are very keen on joining other community forums. As we say in Nigeria, we call it Borakbo. I don't know the part of Nigeria you're from, whether you also use that term. It's like your community people. Okay, so some other people encourage their kids to make friends there as well. And for me, I have also been very particular about just letting my kids find their own feet and find their own community. I don't want to be the one always driving them, to do this or to do this because I think it would be beneficial for them. I want them to, as much as I want them to, be part of a community where they feel like they belong. And I might feel that the only places where they can build that community would be places like in church or, other community gatherings, even though, to be honest, I don't attend a lot of those community gatherings. I really do not attend. But as much as I might think that these are the places where I want my kids to go and make friends from, I want to be able to stand back believing that I have done a good job for them and that I have done a good job with them and that they can go on from what they have learned, what they have picked up from their parents, to be able to filter their own crowd. Like, I want them to find their own friends. So when my kids tell me, oh, I am interested in this activity, I'm not going to say, okay, you're a girl. I don't want you to go and start playing soccer. I don't want you to be in this soccer group where it is both boys and girls. I don't want you to be there. Sometimes I have to step back from that and be like, this is their life. Because looking at my own life, I am not doing every single thing that my parents raised me to do. It's not everything that they told me that I am doing. At some point, I had to find my own way. And I want my kids to know from the beginning that I am not here to control your lives. I am here to guide you, not to control you. Okay. Yes, there are some things that I have to put my foot down on because I am still your parent and I have that responsibility as your parent. But ultimately, what I am doing is guiding you towards your own life. Live your own life because your mom is also going to live her life. So that's kind of how I am raising them to find their own community, even if, I might suggest other things and try to pull them into other crowds, but I also give them some leeway to choose their own friends.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a way of connecting to your authentic self, because you know that like you're the everything lies within your power, everything
Mm,
lies within you, but being able to still know where to step back and say, okay, my children need to make these decisions for themselves,
mm.
and still guide them. I think that's powerful.
Yeah, yeah, because this is not to say that my kids will always make the right choices. They will meet friends, people that as soon as I see them, I'm like, no, 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 you can't be friends with this kind of person.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not about just going, no, I don't want you to see this person. I don't want you to talk to this person anymore. I don't want this person coming over to my house to see you. It's not about that. It's about teaching them why I have my reservations. Okay. And in teaching them those things, I try to make them connect back to their own values. These are the values you're being raised with. These are the things that I have heard you say are important to you. Do you think this friendship will nurture those things for you? Do you think so? And then I let them answer for themselves. So it's about guiding them in a way, because I mean, the culture here is so different as well. The last thing you want to do is push and push and push, because I have seen, unfortunately, even with immigrant parents, who, because of that toolkit we have inherited from our parents, we are like one track horses. We only have the one trick in our book. And so we insist on things when we should be stepping back. We think it's about being so strict, not giving them any leeway, not giving them any room. And guess what? The first opportunity this child has, they're gone. Yeah,
They won't live in your house forever.
they're gone. They might even still be living with you, but you can't really say you know your child.
True.
They might
True.
still be living with you, but there are certain things that you would hear that they did, and you're mind blown, because you
True.
really cannot understand how they ever got to the point where they would even consider doing stuff like that. And you thought you were giving them the best parenting. Yeah, it's a very tightrope. Okay, you're always walking a tightrope as a parent, but you need to be able to find your balance. It's about balancing, balancing. Don't swing too much in one way, don't swing too much in the other, and keep learning yourself as a parent. Yeah.
Wow. So how are you able to um keep your children rooted in your cultural heritage or cultural identity?
I am failing
Does it
at this
matter?
one. Oh. It does matter. I am failing at this one. Let me be honest with you. I am failing.
I don't think so. Let me tell you. I watched that video where you talked about them speaking with your family members.
Mhm.
Sometimes they try to learn your language. I think when it comes to how we view failure as parents,
Yeah,
we need to be able to put things in perspective and understand our context. If not, we're going to put ourselves under some kind of pressure that, like,
that's true. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that. Thank you for reminding me of that, because we've tried to get them to learn how to speak Igbo. But again, I am blaming myself and my husband. I'm not blaming the kids, because a lot of times we'll be like, we're not going to speak anything in this house, just Igbo. We are only going to speak Igbo. And then we carry it on for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Before you know it, it's like, can you please go get my shoe in the room? And I'm like, that's not Igbo. That is, you just spoke in English. So it's even hard for us to sustain as parents, if that is the tactic we want to follow. I would sit them down in front of a TV. We would play lessons, Igbo lessons through YouTube, and I'll sit down there with them. I'll get them to grab a book and write. But of course, without sufficient participation in the language, to them, it would just seem like yet another activity that the parents want us to do. So I feel like they've not come to a point where they really appreciate the need to want to learn the language. But apart from that, other things that I do is, and myself and my husband, we do this quite well, is a lot of storytelling. So tell them about the culture, even if they don't speak the language, tell them about the culture, tell them the pride that you have in your culture and why it is so important that they carry on that pride. Especially in a place where, unfortunately, it is what it is. They would experience things at school that would make them feel uncomfortable just because they are different, they look different. And so some people would pick on that because kids can be very mean. Oh my God, the playground is a mean place. Okay. Kids are bullies. So of course they will experience some of these things which will make them question their own identity. So it's about constantly drilling into them that there is nothing about their identity to be ashamed of. Okay, but the opposite is the case. There's everything to be proud of. So it's about telling them those stories and rooting them in the knowledge that they come from a stock of proud people. Not proud in the sense that we are boastful and arrogant, but people who are grounded in themselves. Okay, so we do a lot of that with them. So even if they don't speak the language, hopefully one day at least they can hold very basic conversations in the language.
Yeah.
But even if we're not there yet, there are other ways in which we try to root them in their identity. So speaking to their grandparents and family from back home is one way as well, so that they know their family tree, know where they are from, know what states they are from, down to the local government area, down to the village, and, continuing to encourage them to learn more about where they've come from. Yeah.
Great, great, great. Yes, storytelling, powerful, powerful, powerful. I believe that that is one tool that is able to transcend time,
Yes.
transcend, you know, it helps the children and ourselves understand history. And I think the way we tell the story, the narrative we send out,
Mhm.
because I'm not the one who would say we shouldn't tell about the negative aspects of our stories,
Mhm.
but sometimes we know how powerful negativity can be. It can overshadow the positivity. The children are asking the other day, have they finished the protest, in
Mm,
Nigeria?
mm,
And
mm.
you have to help them understand exactly what
Yep.
is happening.
Mm.
So the way we share the stories, not just the stories themselves,
Yes.
matters.
Very true. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. Negative stories are not negative stories for the reason of wanting to bring down the essence of the people. There's so much more to Nigeria than just bad leadership. That's one cancer we are dealing with. But then when we go down to the essence of the typical Nigerian, what you're seeing is someone who is incredibly resilient, someone who is joyful. We have one kind of spirit. Things are going bad, but hop online and see Nigerians, basically making a fool of themselves, but, in the best way possible, laughing over everything, turning everything into comedy, even
Comedy.
things that they should be serious about. They turn it into comedy. They laugh about it, you
Yes.
know? So when you come down to like the Nigerian spirit, you're seeing people who are resilient, people who do not give up. They don't give up. We try to also teach our kids like you're not born from the stock of people who try something, it becomes challenging, and then they fall apart. No, you build tougher than that. It comes with just being Nigerian. That's okay. You just have to activate it. It's in the blood. Yes, even when we tell stories that might appear to be negative, like you said, it's about how we tell, it's the framing around those stories. Okay, we are not being negative just because we want to bash and we want to be negative Nellies and just bash on things for no reason. Yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah, yeah. In the spirit of positivity, what are the good things? The good things that living in a multicultural society has taught you?
Mm, so many good things. Yeah. So, first of all, it has taught me that I can be me. I can just be me. I don't have to be anything more. I don't have to be anything less. I don't have to explain why. I don't have to explain what. I don't have to explain where. I don't have to explain how. I can just sit in my own self, okay, and and feel like that is sufficient on its own. And why I bring this up is because, the culture that we come from, beautiful culture, okay, there are expectations on you to be a certain way, to do certain things. And sometimes when you're not heading in that direction, it can get as bad as you feeling like you have a stigma on you because people think you've not achieved certain things, you're not doing certain things, and you're not living up to expectations. But here, again, just because this is a place that gives you a lens to view other cultures, not just your own. Like you view other cultures side by side with yours, and you see that there's so much more to life. Like there's so many other different ways to live through life that are not restricted to just your own cultural knowledge. And just seeing that gives you some kind of reassurance that regardless of where life takes you, you're still living your own life, like you're still being true to yourself. So that's one thing that I love about being here. I love meeting people from different cultures. I love talking to people, even though I am a bit of an introvert. But when I do go out, well, I don't like labels. I don't like labels. I wouldn't even label myself as an introvert, but I am someone who I have different seasons. Let's just put it that way. There are times when I just want to be alone. And then there are other times when I do go out and interact with people, it's like I want to hear everything. Tell me everything. So, and this is a place that encourages that. It encourages you to reach into yourself, discover your own interests, and be able to pursue those interests without anything restricting you. Instead, you would find people who encourage you to just, yeah, go on, go on. And maybe it's part of that individualistic thing. There's a general acceptance that everybody's an individual here, and whatever you want to do, you're well within your rights as long as you're not violating another person's rights or doing anything that is unlawful. So that's one thing that I really love about being here. Yeah, that's one thing that I will
Yeah, thank you so much.
never
You know that
regret.
I feel like Australia is so resourceful,
Yeah.
and when it comes to like the multicultural dynamic, being able to tap into that and explore it, progress with it, it's something I'm still
Yes.
learning. It's something I'm still learning, and I hope that I'm able to really explore it.
Yes.
I like the approach to doing things on your own. I remember when I first had to couple one size two. That's such a unique environment.
I know, I know. It will teach you to reach into yourself and find abilities that you didn't even know you had.
Yes, yes. Thinking, do you think there are some limitations that come with being in this kind of multicultural environment in terms of you have to deal with, like I've said, for the children, bullying is a
Mm,
social issue that I am so excited you actually mentioned that because I intend to champion a campaign.
mm,
I hope that with the kind of work I am really passionate about, which is also social work, I'm
mm.
able to really just do my contribution, do what I
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
So
That sounds interesting. Yeah. I said that sounds interesting.
thank you. Racism, we have bullying, we have issues, these other challenges. What kind of challenges have you actually come across?
Yeah. All those challenges that you mentioned, every single one of them. So the bullying, the racism, just sticking out sometimes, and the fact that your difference is not celebrated in certain circles. Yeah. So had those issues, and I think my daughters have had the same issues as well. On my channel, I made a video about racism, and in that video, I said, yes, even though I have experienced these things, they are not a big part of my life here. And I am becoming more intentional about what I give my energy to. Because obviously, where you channel your energy, it grows. Whatever you channel your energy to grows and becomes
True.
bigger and bigger. It's like a muscle. The more you work it, the bigger and stronger it gets.
True.
And when we first got here, found myself going around with that consciousness that I am different. And it wasn't, yeah, I was different and not in a good way. I wasn't carrying that consciousness of difference in a good way. I was carrying it as though I was justifying being singled out. If someone singled me out, then it would be because I am this or I am that. And I found that it wasn't doing me any favors. It wasn't doing me any good. There was a lot of hypervigilance that I had started to build around that consciousness. So at some point I sat down and I thought about it. I was like, let's think about this thing logically. When you wake up in the morning and you're leaving your house, just think about the last 1 week. Every single day that you've woken up in the morning, got dressed, you were heading out to work or you were heading out to school. How many racist encounters have you experienced? How many people do you have tried to bully you? Think about it logically. And I found that there were lots of, instances where I would go whole weeks, whole months, and there was nothing that my radar was picking up practically in terms of someone saying something to me that was racist or someone being a bully to me. But then I found that when I would remember the one encounter that someone said something to me or someone did something to me, it kind of overshadows all the other weeks of no activity, no events, everyone just minding their business. It would overshadow that and keep me in this mood where I just felt like, I felt really horrible with myself. So I decided I was going to flip that around because, what was that going to do for me if not break me down even further? So I started moving away from that consciousness. Like, I don't care. I just choose to be, some people would say it is me being ignorant. But listen, if being ignorant will protect my peace, if being ignorant means that I remain in a place where I can engage fully in this society where I live and that I can show myself, I can show up authentically to people who actually like me. If you call it ignorance, then so be it. Let it be ignorance. And that is what I pass on to my kids, just to let them know that it is not about switching schools. They've had experiences where they're like, Mommy, can you just move me out of this school? Can you just move me to another school? And I said, listen, between when you started kindy to now that one of them is in high school, they've attended 4 different schools. I was not switching them because of bullying. It was just the circumstance at the time. We moved out of an area and so they had to switch schools. There were certain facilities they didn't have in school and so we had to switch schools again. But to switch them because they were getting bullied, I told them, you've experienced bullying in all these different schools. So that's to tell you that it's not about changing your location. It's not about moving you to another school. It will keep happening. It is life. Okay. Even as your mom, as an adult, I go to work and I meet people who decide to be ignorant. Okay. Now, does it mean that I would keep switching? I keep jumping from one workplace to the other. As soon as someone says something racist, I jump to another. I start looking for another job. As soon as someone tries to bully me, instead of standing my ground and standing against the bully, I run away. We're not going to keep running. So it's about telling them that life, unfortunately, is a place where you get a mixture of different people from different orientations, and it just means that every once in a while you have to deal with this. It's not like they would have a completely problem-free life, even if we didn't come here. If we decided to stay in Nigeria, there are other things that they would encounter as well that will make them feel just as bad as when they get bullied here or when someone says something racist to them here. So it's about building their resilience. And, grounding them in knowing who they are, so that they know how to deal with these things and know when to ignore, when the best response would just be ignore people and keep moving. Yeah.
True, true. And I think the good side of challenges is it comes to sharpen us, it comes to
Yeah.
help us grow, it comes to build in us the strength
Yep.
to be and to become.
Yeah.
So yes,
Of
thank you
course.
for
Yeah.
sharing that. Wow, I think I, I have been enriched. I've heard you saying, "Oh, let's keep telling stories that are powerful. Let's pass on positive narrative." Thank you so much for sharing all of these. What is one key message that, as we wrap up, one key message that African parents, Nigerian parents need to keep in mind why parenting in this environment?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to get trapped in being busy.
Yes, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Well, yeah, the bills still have to be paid, and there's lots of bills. So I understand the keeping busy and being busy and chasing shifts and all of that and chasing the bag. But then there will always be room. Like everything you do from the moment you wake up in the morning is role modeling to your kids. So even if you're not saying the words, role model parents. Role model. African parents, I'm talking to you. Nigerian parents, I'm talking to you. Role modeling is so important. Let your kids see you live what you preach. So this talk style parenting of just telling them, no, you shouldn't do this, or this is how I expect you to behave when you're bullied. Are you showing the same examples? Or is it the case that when someone says something to you outside, you come home and everywhere is hot? You're so pissed off and everyone is seeing it. How have you handled those challenges that you're also trying to teach your kids how to navigate? How are you going through life here? Those things that you want to teach your kids, are you doing them? Because a lot of us say that there are certain things that we inherited from our parents that we don't want to pass on to our kids, but we're not living those things that we say we don't want to pass on. We just say it. We just say it. Okay. Things like discipline. We say we don't want to use certain disciplinary methods on our kids, but we find that we default to that because we've not done the inner work ourselves. We've not done that inner work to actually process whatever trauma we've carried on from that. Because I believe that the reason why you would fall back to the same method is, first of all, it could be a trauma response. Yeah, a trauma response that you've not dealt with. I know I am going into social work territory now. And so when you have not built, you've not gone in there and done that inner work to actually expand the way you process trauma, expand the processing around that trauma, then it means that you're only limited to those things. So even if you're by your words, you're saying, I don't want to do this with my kids anymore, you've not built any capacity around being able to do different. So start with yourself, parents. Model, okay? Be the role model for your kids and not just talk to them. Talk to them, but preach what you say.
Wow.
Or rather, do what you preach.
Thank you for speaking to me. You
I
know,
also spoke to myself.
the
Yeah.
inner work, that is the job we need to do.
Yep.
Because truly, parenting starts with us as individuals. We usually say, don't you know I am your father? But that's not what makes you dad or mom.
That's not
It's
what
not
makes
a
it.
title. It's a responsibility.
Yeah.
And the ability to translate that responsibility in influencing your child. That's
Yes.
what true parenting is.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there is going to be there are going to be mean people out there. The values, maybe we should even talk about the challenges with some of the issues
Yeah.
around values in Australia or in this
Mm.
part of the world in terms of gender issues. Do we want to start talking about the philosophy around religion?
Mm.
So we as parents indeed have a lot of work to do, and sometimes in the bid to get a paper, in the bid to keep our jobs, to pay bills,
Mm.
we get caught up in a circle of life that
Yeah,
doesn't impact our children.
that's very
And
true.
in this country gives us huge advantage. But I still I'm taken aback when I see some. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we should learn to harness into the gifts that
Mm.
this community that Australia has to offer us. I
Yeah.
think we have left somewhere to come here. Why not maximize, you know, all the goodies that come with
Mm.
being here? Because I think despite how difficult it might seem, to raise children here, it still gives us a huge advantage in that
Mm.
the power to truly influence them lies with us. I usually say that for parents, there is a void in your child that only you
Mm.
can feel.
That's true.
And that will be my last word for every parent here today, that do not let, because if you don't fill that void, there are every other thing trying to fill that void for you, from the school system to your friends. Interestingly, even the class teachers,
Hmm.
depending on what communal or separate from your religious community, how you, and also, not isolating the children, not, keeping them away from engaging and
Mm.
interacting. Why are we in a multicultural environment? I have an Indian, friend. I have a Sri Lanka friend. I have a
Yep.
Chinese friend. But at the same time, building that confidence in the children to
Yes.
stand out, because we are Niger. We have, like she have said, the
Yeah.
blood in us is recognized in the world, and we
Mm.
stand for excellence when we push for it.
Mm.
Push for it. Thank you so
That's
much
very
for
true.
having me.
Powerful words spoken just there.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure doing this podcast with you, and
Oh, the
I
pleasure's all
hope
mine.
you won't mind coming on again. You don't mind if there are other things to discuss, if I can reach out to you.
Yeah,
Thank you so, so
no
much. I'm
problems.
very
Yeah.
grateful.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'll just end the recording now.